Just looking outside, it's still dusk, still daylight hours. Let's see if we can just turn this slightly. Yeah, that's better. That's better. As the actress said to the bishop. Welcome, you wrong ones. Let me just find out where we are. That one. Ew, I say. Ew, back. That way. Oh, yeah. Oh, come on. Sorry, my computer's running slow. Alright, so I want that one, want that one, and I want that one. Yes. I may have to read this from the screen, which is not cool, blimey. Let's do this. See if I can do it very quickly. There. Right. Come on. Let's do that, and let's do that. You can tell I wasn't ready. Let's print it. Lovely. Right. We'll do some introductions in a moment. Thank you for all of your comments. We've got so much to talk about tonight. It's probably going to take us a couple of hours. So you may be able to watch all of them. Sorry, all of the live. If not, I do hope that you're able to catch up after the live. So, Retro's in. Retro's in the body of the Kirk. Welcome to the Sunday sermon, as many people call it. There's even a show on GB News called "The Best Sunday Sermon in the World Ever" or something. But they can't keep it up for 2 hours or more. As I say, there's lots to talk about. There's been, I've said on quite a few lives and in some of the previous videos that I've done, that there really needs to be an adult conversation around knife crime. Whether we get it or not is a completely different matter. Andrew, you're utter wrongin'. What does a Sunderland fan do when his team has won the Champions League? He turns off the PlayStation. You tart. Oh. Okay, PT Ham. We'll start with. I mean, I'm probably taking them out of context. What's that one? Right. Okay, out of sequence rather than context. PT Ham says, "Adrian, hello." A Radio Caroline friend of mine worked as a voiceover and ads. His name is John Bennett, but not known where he is, as I've lost touch. The name rings a bell. PT Ham. I'm sure with a bit of digging you'll be able to find him if he's still in the industry, certainly. Andy Turner, hello Adrian. Do you read, I read Holly Willoughby is going to Netflix. I haven't written anything down for that. A little asinine for my taste this evening. But she's gone for the money, as has the hubby. It's all about the Benjamins. To Viv Kenyon, Viv Indalo, she says, Rollins. Hello, Adrian, waiting patiently as always. Viv Indalo, thank you, Viv. Thank you very much. Napoleon Blown Apart, good evening, Adrian. I made it in to the body of the Kirk, even though I got rocked by, here we go. 4.8 magnitude earthquake on Friday, and we're getting close to a total solar eclipse tomorrow. 95%. Oh, it's like one of those TV things. I'm going to talk about that. The solar eclipse. America thinks it's all going slightly mad in America. What else? Panic over. No, Mr. Mandarin, panic over. Well, we'll see tomorrow. Because the Americans don't like it happen. To Rusty Mouse. Well, peeps, I've made... Oh, you tart. My favourite. Rusty Mouse says, I've made a lemon drizzle cake and a walnut coffee one, so we can all have a slice tonight. Who has the wine? We can gather around the pulpit and party. We have a great church. Lemon drizzle. It doesn't turn the brown stuff any better, though. I wish it did. Andrew James. To Rusty Mouse, that's too much excitement for me. You need to get out more, Andrew. To Rusty Mouse, oh, you'll be fine, Andrew. My wife and I went to church to light some votive candles. When I saw the church organ, that is both monumental and sovereign, it reminded me of Adrian Allen. Well, it would, Andrew. It would. There's no denying. I do happen to be a rather upstanding member of this particular parish, and my organ is a thing of splendour. So I'm told. Mind you, it's all those buttons and polishing it. I'm not a fan for polishing me organ. Although I do have, from a fancy dress party once, I do have a policeman's helmet. So every now and again, I just I give it a polish, just while I'm watching TV normally. So there's nothing better than, polishing your Bobby's helmet while you're watching TV. Napoleon blown apart. Oh, can you believe they're selling cardboard eclipse glasses for 16? Is that $16 or 16 quid? I can, because everywhere somebody want to make a buck. Lionel Leighton, unrehearsed live. I'm number 8 on the likes. Just finished my own video on YouTube. Fabulous, Lionel. Hope it went well for you. There's Rusty Mouse. Saint and Napoleon blown apart. No, really? There used to be a shilling. Yeah, we remember when newspapers gave them away for free. They don't now, though. Tight. I nearly swore. We'll get to the... have we done that? Have we done the... No, we'll do the community notice in just a little while. Which one's which? Napoleon blown apart, only in the Daily Express. Right, you're all having a conversation here. I can't read them out. Napoleon blown apart. It starts at 2 p.m, ends around 4:15, 16-15 hours. Now, some of the, we're not going to get the total eclipse here. We're going to get a partial. Story of our lives. Semi. So we get a partial. And it's in the west of the country, a little bit of West Scotland, loads of northwest England, and it kind of moves away. Oh, hang on. Tower Block Tracy's in the church this evening, hopefully on her best behaviour. I'm moving from Essex to Fingering Hoe. There's not such a place, surely. Fingering Hoe. Neil Cunningham says, I want to watch the eclipse. A Mars bar wrapper works just fine. If you insist. And Andrew James, what's the difference between Adrian Allen and a gynecologist? None. They both work where others have fun. Are you going to talk about me miner's lamp? Gary Darcy, evening Adrian. Fair. It's Fee, isn't it? Is it not Fee Edinburgh? Scottish from. And Gary, I do genuinely love Edinburgh. It is just one of the most beautiful places on earth. I love it. I love Scotland. Very dear to my heart. Dave Courtbeak. Was it Courtbeak 1? Should have gone to Specsavers. Adrian, I remember the total eclipse in the UK. Wasn't there one about 98, 99? I remember I was standing outside of Century 106 in Nottingham as it went over. I'm sure we had a full eclipse. according to Dave, used welding masks to watch it. Oh, you can't look at it with your naked peepers. No. It is weird and went very cold. It does. Well, it blocks the light out, ostensibly. Didn't have the commotion the USA one is having. Oh, they're they're all in a bit of a panic. Our brethren across the water and sisters. But let's talk about it. I don't know how. Oh, the chat is just kicking off, man. I'm just gonna leave it. We need to get in because I could take all night doing those. Tonight we're going to talk about the stabbing in Bradford. Horrible, awful. Don't know whether you've heard it because it hasn't really made the mainstream news. We'll talk about the soap opera that is the royal family. Oh, it's just a pain in the derriere. Must have been the doctor's fingers for your prostate examination, Your Majesty. We'll talk about Willie waving. Willie being Willie Rag. Is there such a thing? A Willie Rag? Not too sure. Just covering me backside. We'll talk about tomorrow because it's April 8th. Tomorrow. Because it could be anything. It could be aliens. It could be just, a solar eclipse. Oh no. Jaffa cakes. Not Bamberg, Jaffa cakes. Full moon, half moon, total eclipse. Those in England will remember the advert. We'll talk about Scoop and The Gentleman. Some bits that have dropped on Netflix this week. And I have the most weirdest, oddest interaction with someone who is world famous. Proper world famous. I mean, a rock god. And you're probably going to say to me, oh, come on, Adrian. You're being scammed, man. And I kind of, I get it. But, don't know. Do you want me to tell you now before we get to the Royals? Because and I've got a couple of questions for you tonight. Some serious and some not so serious. But where's Michelle Moon? Where's Willie? Is she still floating around on the water in her multi-million pound yacht? Yeah. Where's Michelle Moan? Give us the money back, you're wrong. No PPE. Because the sort of reportage is, oh, Angela Rayner, no, it's only £1,600. You utter wrong-uns. And they're pointing it towards Tory doll, Michelle Moon. Walked away with hundreds of millions, seemingly, according to the newspapers. So we'll get to that in just a little while. But let me tell you this story. Next live is Wednesday, 10th of April. This coming Wednesday. Don't forget, I'm on X at Adrian Allen. Me real name. That's where you'll find me. So please subscribe over there. Because we're trying to race to 500 subs, and I've got like nearly 7,000 here, so surely we can get to 500 subs quite quickly. So yesterday, I took the new Mrs. Allen out for a thank you, moderator. Yeah, none of the malarkey, please, tonight. Moderators put it in there, so you have to behave. Otherwise, I'll be sent to jail. Because that's what moderators do, don't they? Put you in the sin bin. So I took the beautiful new Mrs. Allen out yesterday because it was our 7th anniversary, and not married. We haven't been married a year yet. And when we came back, so yesterday afternoon, I'll tell you. So if you know Led Zeppelin, you'll know who their lead guitarist is. And I was just having a doom scroll through Facebook, just trying to work out what was going on. And, I saw this profile. Just a little bit of, let me make a note of that, a little bit of royal stuff. Wow, well, we know that she's a... I'm not going to be distracted. I am going to tell you this story because it's kind of blown my mind a little bit. Right, made me note. It will come along in just a little while. So yesterday, I saw this profile and I thought, is that really Jimmy Page? He's 80-year-old. Why would he be on Facebook? Well, all the old ones are on Facebook now. They're not on Insta. They're not on well, X maybe, but he's on Facebook. So I just added him as a friend just to see what would happen. Anyway, come back from having a very, very, very lovely meal with the new Mrs. Allen last night. And it was the company that I was keeping, really, that made it special. So Alan says, Led Zepp legends. I know. Jimmy Page, what a guitarist that boy is. And God, I love Led Zeppelin. Have done for many years. Although their Live Aid set, they're not allowing anybody to hear that again because it wasn't great. So he accepts my friend request and then sends me a wave and says hello. And I was like, hang on a second, this is Jimmy Page, man. What's he saying hello to lowly me? I'm not worthy. So I just kind of interacted with him. This is last night about 9 o'clock. Interacted with him and he was very cordial. And I was going to say, is this genuine? Is this genuinely Jimmy Page? Like, I'm sure you get asked that a lot. And we just kind of, he said, are you a fan? Now, that kind of can go one of two ways. And I thought, which way is this going to go? Is this going to be, oh, right, I want some money? Oh, lovely. Rich says, he used to sit near me at the Wolves. Was that Molyneux? Derek Dugan was my favourite Wolves player back in the day. I'm a bit old. And he said, great guy, would chat to anyone whilst in the queue. Robert Plant. Oh, was it Robert Plant or was it Jimmy Patrick Page? Anyway, he's probably watching this. So we kind of, interface. And he says, are you a member? Do you have fan membership? And I said, no, sorry, Jimmy. No, I don't. I'm a tight-ass northerner. I don't pay for out. And he said, well, you can do. I said, look, while I'm here, can I be really cheeky? Can we do an interview? I've been playing your songs on the radio for 40 years, Jimmy. And GB paint rate, you're wrong. I'll have to write that one down because I'm in the middle of telling this story. And if we put it up on the channel, it'll take loads to edit. So I said to him, look, I know I'm being cheeky, but any chance of an interview? Because I've played your songs for decades on the radio in the UK. And he said, why not? Jimmy Page saying yes to an interview. I was a bit sort of taken aback when he said yes. And I thought, no, this is not Jimmy Page. This is not. And he said, oh, just get a membership. And we'll sort the interview out. So I thought, this is like one of those dodgy websites where you go and some woman says, oh, I love you. Oh, I love you. Can we, do the like Fandango? By the way, pay me 500 quid and I'll come across from Russia. One of them dodgy websites. And so I sort of just took a step back. I'm a cynical old tart, proper, because my life, when I write my biography, you'll go, no, Adrian, that never happened. You're making that up. No, honestly, I'm not. I mean, how can I make up like this story? Interacting with Jimmy Page, the rock god. And so we're still interacting. And he says, well, if you want a membership, it's normal membership's like $300. You can get a VIP membership for $500. That's the point. The cynical northern tart kicks in. and goes, how much? And he says, 300 quid for normal membership. Well, you can have a 500 VIP. And I'm like, I'm not paying a single solitary penny. I don't care who this is. And I said, so, hang on a second. How am I going to get the money to you? Oh, you'll pay me management. And I thought, hang on. I know the story around, oh, is that Simon Cartwright? Oh, Simon, you're wrong. And I will say hello. I'm just in the middle of telling a story. I am so pleased that you are in the house this evening, young sir. So, at which point, he says, oh, yeah, you can contact me management. And I'm like, who's your management? Because I know that his last main manager was Bill Kirbishley. And Bill sadly died a few years ago. So he's kind of pinged around managers. Not that I'm stalking him or anything. I'm just a fan. And so I thought, no, this can't. So I said, who's your manager? And he said, Frederick. I said, second name. And what's the name of the company? Because I'll find them. I've got loads of people in the record industry. It's a weekend, so I'm leaving it till tomorrow to find. I'm going to ring a few people and go, yeah, Jimmy Page. What do you know? I mean, I've read the books. I have read the books. So we kind of left it. I think he could sense that I was backing off being a cynical old tart and not willing to pay loads of greenbacks, Benjamins. And I did think, well, hang on a second. Why is he saying dollars when he lives here? He lives in Tower House in London. But what was kind of going on in my head, the new Mrs. Allen and I, when we weren't married, this was 21, we went on a little jaunt out to West Wales. And I was driving, and the new Mrs. Allen was navigating. We were going proper out, far out West Wales, and it's beautiful. It is breathtaking there. And I know that Jimmy has a love for Wales. I think he has a house there somewhere. And I'm driving down this road, country road, nobody on the road, nobody behind, nobody in front, and I'm just, chatting away to my girlfriend, and this woman starts walking down the road towards the car, and I'm like, oh, you dippy bint, man. I could have knocked you over there. And literally, as I got close to her, so, my eyes are old now, so I couldn't really work out who it was. I saw this girl. I say girl, she was probably in her late 30s, early 40s, and I recognised her. And I'm normally really good with faces. I was like, oh, where have I seen you? Where have I seen you? I've seen you somewhere else. And so she was on my left as we drove past her. As I got up to her and I was trying to work out who it was, I looked over to the right. There's Jimmy Page. And I'm like, I nearly snapped my neck doing a double take. And Jimmy knew what was going on. So I could see him like really laughing. And because it must happen to him a lot. He's a rock god, one of the best guitar players in the world ever. And so I said to the future Mrs. Allen, Jesus, it's Jimmy Page. Look, it's Jimmy Page. And she's like, oh, it's Jimmy Page. And I'm like, oh, woman, it's Jimmy Page, man. Jimmy. And she's like, slow down. What's going on? What's... I said, oh, Led Zeppelin, one of the best bands ever. Up there with the Beatles, ever. And Jimmy Page. And his girlfriend. And she's like, oh, calm down. You can't have a beer, you're driving. Shall we go and pull in somewhere so you can put some water on your face and calm down? I was like, that was Jimmy Page, man. That was proper Jimmy Page. Oh, right, okay. Didn't have time to get my phone. Didn't get a photograph. But I know that he clocked that I nearly snapped my neck looking at him. So this conversation that I had last night, that was in the back of my head going. So I said to him, here, Jimmy, a couple of years ago, I nearly knocked your partner over. It wasn't erratic. It was just, she was in the way, in the road. And he said, oh, right. Obviously can't remember the way I do. And so I left it. I just left it thinking, is this a bit sus? Think it might be, but it might not be. He said yes to the interview. Why would he say yes to the interview? Until he gets the money out of me. So, I get another message this morning on Facebook Messenger. Jimmy Do you want me to put you in contact with me management? I was like, yeah, love to. And then I get a message this afternoon. I've told me management they'll be in touch. Didn't ask for the money again. And I'm like, is this really? I mean, literally, I'd be like in fanboy heaven if it was Jimmy Page. I mean, I'm quite rusty doing interviews at the moment, but I did them every day of my life for 40 years ish. But look, I've got a feeling it's a scam. But if the management pitch up, and it is, we're going to get Jimmy Page on the channel. Who knew? Money couldn't buy that kind of thing. I mean, when I went to, I'm not going to get into the Abbey Road story, but when I went to Abbey Road and got VIP treatment, hang on, have I got? No, I haven't got it hand. I couldn't. I'm just like you. My heroes are my heroes, and being in Abbey Road, in the place where John Lennon stood and sang, and walking up the stairs to the control room, literally, I thought I was going to faint like a girl. Funny, but not something you want to do. So I'm not sure. He's not asked for any money again. So I don't know whether he's been at the Cook and Sherry. He's a rock and roller. He might like the Cook and Sherry on a Saturday evening with the missus, watching X Factor. It's Lee Jones. It's the African Lotto. Do you know, I love these calls that come through to your landline or your mobile, and they go, hello, is that Mr. Allen? Well, if you want it to be, how much you paying? I just have sport with them. I just say to them, like somebody will ring up and I go, oh, you've just rang at the right time. Are you the ambulance? They go, what? Oh, I've just rang an ambulance. Are you there? Are you outside? And they literally go, oh, put the phone down. Or I'll say to them, oh, do you mind? I'm just having sex with my boyfriend. Oh, harder. And then put the phone down. I mean, I can think of a million scenarios where I just do it for sport. Because A, they shouldn't be ringing me. And B, it's funny. I tell them my dog's died, and I cry because I'm upset because my dog's died. They're not allowed to stay on the phone. And if I can keep them on the phone for 3 to 5 to 10 minutes, my dog, it was out chasing a cat, and it fell off the cliff. And I just have sport with them. Feckers. Nigel Green. After I'd seen her, that was meant to... Oh, right, okay. I'm going to have to read some of these later because they're quite involved messages. Nigel Green. It's not him, Adrian. I had a similar experience with somebody pretending to be Nicole Kidman. And I'd messaged her after seeing her in Mallorca last year. After I'd seen her. That meant to say. I mean, I was in a pool. Can you remember Ruud van Nistelrooy, the Manchester United player? I was in pool of quite a posh hotel, to be fair. I was just a tag along with the new Mrs. Allen. And there's this guy in the pool who looked like Ruud van Nistelrooy, the striker for Manchester United. And I said to the prospective Mrs. Allen, here, look over there, that bloke there. He looks like Ruud van Nistelrooy. He's a rude boy. What happening? And he clocked it. He clocked that I was, he was fraternising with his young lady friend. And I think it might have been. Could have been. But, so I'm going to ask you, what do we do? Now, this is a collective. I'm only ever doing stuff to entertain you. Probably wasn't Ruud van Nistelrooy. He was in the middle of the football season. He should be playing for his team wherever he's playing. I think he's on the continent somewhere. Anyway, Jimmy Page. James Patrick Page. So what do we do? Amalia Cressy. Love it. I'm nicking that off you. What have I said, you wrong'un? because this is just a stream of consciousness. If you think this is scripted, you've got another thing coming. I'll say something and like 30 seconds later, I'm like a goldfish. Literally, I have the retentive memory of a goldfish. So whatever I've said, Amalia, you can use it, but I have no clue. So if it is Jimmy Page, I'm doing this for you. I'm taking one for the team. I want to. But he said he would. I mean, I can call him, can't I? I can use. Brilliant. Top of 69. Some scammer rang me years ago, told me he was Marshall Mathers. Brilliant. What did you tell him? Foxtrot Oscar. But this is, I mean, if it's not, so there's two stories going on here. If it's not Jimmy Page, then somebody's using his name to scam it. So the press or somebody else in authority needs to know. Preferably Facebook, if they're scamming. But if it is Jimmy Page, and he's just like, you know, he's doing it for bants, got his fans, could it be? What do you think? Right, I'm just going to, well, I'll ask you now. 1 for yes, 2 for no. 1 for yes, 2 for no. Is it Jimmy Page? Or is this a scam? Is this a scam? 1 for yes, 2 for no. See, Adam's like loads of twos, all the ducks in a row. Oh, somebody says you need Ike on the channel. Adrian needs Ike on the channel. I have had, I mean, this could have contributed to why I left the BBC, but I had. So I said, is this a scam? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Andy Turner, what's 5 you're wrong on? Are you innumerate or something? Yeah, it sounds like a scam, but Jimmy Page, is it worthwhile having a dance? I mean, can you imagine if I said, Jimmy, I'll come down to your house? I mean, he lives next door to Robbie Williams, doesn't he? In the Tower House, and seemingly this house that he owns is breathtaking and worth tens of millions. Top of 69, scam, 100%. And I am a proper cynical old tart. I am. There's no getting away from it. I've seen a lot in my life, and I like to keep me money close to me chest. Yeah, Top of 69 says it's not worth the cash. Well, that's why I haven't paid him. I haven't paid him a bean, not a single solitary bean. But, I mean, I think a lot of people are sort of in the same place as me, where it's, is it? Isn't it? Chris Mundy, get me a curry and I'll put you in touch with Elvis. You can't. He drives the number 42 bus in Wigan. He's probably on shift. Jokes. So my life, I don't know how the hell I live my life. I don't know how I get away with it, but I am just a daft lad getting away with it. And I mean, I swear, if it's Jimmy Page, again, I will take him a t-shirt. Don't forget the Battenberg. You're wrong. Oh. Can you imagine Jimmy Page going on stage? Rock God. You're wrong. Don't forget the Battenberg. I literally would die and go to heaven. I would not be able to stop laughing for weeks. Nigel Green says, Adrian, keep your money, buy more Battenberg. See, there's a man. I like the cut of your jib, Nigel. Tablock Tracy, number 42. Doesn't go to Wigan. It goes to Clockface. I said clock face. You tart. Wrong. Amelia Grassi. Oops, just me buffering. Yeah. So that's my Jimmy Page story, which I was going to leave for later, but I thought you might like that. Fake or real? Is it Jimmy? Isn't it? I'll tell him. Battenberg, Jimmy. Battenberg. Works every time. But I nearly ran his girlfriend over, so he might be upset at me. Simon Cartwright. Simon, your message has gone miles past, but lovely to see you. I hope the Bob Monkhouse stuff is going really, really, really well. and good to see you back on stage. Simon's been a long-time fan of the channel, but Simon is literally the world's best Bob Monkhouse actor, if you wish. And his voice sounds like Bob, he looks like Bob, and he's been doing various stage stuff. So lovely, lovely, lovely to see you, Simon, and I hope you're keeping well, my friend. Oh yeah, I just saw this alert. The headline was, Harry needs permission from Meghan to heal the rift with William. What kind of bloke is he? He's supposed to be ex-military. He's supposed to, I've killed 25 Taliban. Oh yeah, I was a pilot. Space cadet, more like it. And he needs permission from his missus. What? Now, I'm from the northeast, where men are men. It's not like Scotland, where men are men and sheep are nervous. Northern England, spade a spade. If not, I'll bury it in your head. If you're called Doug. But he's supposed to be like, I went to Sandhurst. Yes, I was schooled at Sandhurst. Where was your commission, Harry? Yeah, wrong. But he needs permission from Meghan. What, the actual? Or is that Meghan and the Moon bump? And you know how, like, I don't know whether you know this, but there's this amorphous mass called the Sussex Squad who are insane. They're being caught out now. They're being outed. Not out, just outed. And since Catherine did that AI video, which has been corroborated as AI by, who was it? It was one of the picture agencies. A couple of them have come out. I think, was it somebody, either FBI or CIA, one of the alphabet teams, and one of the picture agencies have come out and gone, oh yeah, it's AI. So since that, all the Sussex Squad have been at William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, Prince and Princess of Wales. But there's this video going about of Meghan walking about when she was pregnant. And literally the moon bump is swishing about. It's like it's full of water. Now, I get the biology of it all, but this bump, this baby bump, the pregnancy bump, is moving around too much for it to be a pregnancy bump. Oh yeah, the golden shot. Do you just park that? I want to tell you a story that I read in Bob Monkhouse's, and it's the best. There's two of them. There's a line that I use that Bob Monkhouse quoted from, he didn't name the American comedian, but they're staying in somewhere like one of the really posh London hotels. And I can say this because this is not monetized. And the comedians are getting in the lift because they're going to go to, I don't know, Sunday night at the Palladium. And this old dowager gets in. And the dowager says to the American comedians, oh, hello. You smell lovely. What have you got on? And the comedian, quick as a flash, says, I've got a hard on, but didn't realise you could smell it. That's in Bob Monkhouse's autobiography. One of my favourite lines ever. Slightly ribald, but one of my favourite. And my favourite story is right at the end of the book, where, if you remember the golden shot, Bernie the Bolt and Bob's saying, oh, so-and-so, welcome to the golden shot. Now you can have a go at breaking the golden thread. Another story. And if you do, you win all this money. So he said, are you ready? Bernie the Bolt, are you ready? Right, off you go. Left, stop. Up. Stop, left. And Bob goes, whoa, stop. What are you doing? The guy said, what do you mean? He said, you've gone left. You're nowhere near the target. You've gone up, and left. You're nowhere near the target. Can you see the TV? And the guy goes, yeah, of course I can. It's across the road in Radio Rentals. I'm calling you from a phone box. Brilliant. I mean, obviously, Bob tells it much funnier and better than I. But how wonderful is that story? Some random bloke on Golden Shot, he's in the phone box and he's looking at the TV at Radio Rentals across the road. Marvellous. Block Tracy. I used to sleep in the nude, which isn't a bad thing, except for maybe on those long haul flights. So let's get into. Sorry, I parked it because I wanted to say hello to Simon, and GB Patriot. GB Patriot, where'd you get that? You and I are going to have to communicate away from this. But GB Patriot says Steve Wright committed suicide. I'd love to know what your source is. I did a video the other day because I've got loads of people asking me, and it occurs to me, there's not been a funeral. Now, I've got I can't get the name in my head because I've got so much information in there. Procurator Fiscal is the Scottish version, and I've had that in my head for the last couple of days. But there's been no output from the BBC, from anyone. And normally, if a death is unexpected, it has to be investigated to make sure there's no foul play. Sometimes, if you're Prince William, it takes 48 hours. Other times, it takes 6 months. But there's been no output to say we're looking into this and we will determine what has happened, and then we will publish our determination. No, nothing. But GB Patriot, oh, please tell me what the source is, because that's... I want to talk about sort of Netflix scoop, and then we'll talk about some of the royal stuff, especially Harry. Oh, weird, man, Harry. Grow a pair. I know you've got ginger sphericals, but just grow another pair. You haven't got your royal protection officers with you who can say, Meghan, man, shut up. Let him be a man. Oh, I won't get any if you say that. Well, don't get any then. I mean, I think she's a dominatrix. I think she's got that cut about her jib, and he just does as he's told. Bless him. I also heard the first date. So the first date was, it was a roast chicken dinner. No. And then it was a blind date. No. I was told from an impeccable source it was a threesome. First date with a woman, threesome, he's never going to go anywhere else. He's going to marry her. Ooh. So, Alan says, ginger rollicks are all the same. I don't know why I'm saying that on here. It's because they're not monetized. I can get away with it. Neil Cunningham, the coroner. Thank you, Neil. I just couldn't get the word in my head. So the coroner took a month to determine my daughter's death wasn't suspicious. And maybe they've got a backlog. Sorry to hear about your daughter, Neil, but thank you for being so honest in the comments. Maybe it's going to take a month, but this is somebody quite famous. Over the last 40 years, I don't think there's a person in this country that hadn't heard him on the radio. When it's William and a friend of the family, seemingly traumatic head wound, gun was found next to him in his parents' barn or one of the outbuildings. Less than 48 hours. That was right. Yeah, got it. Dead. Right. We'll do more investigating. For the moment, it's closed. Stuart. Yeah, thank you for being so honest, Neil. Really appreciate it. So, let's talk about scoop, because there's stuff that I know that I don't normally bring here, and I won't. I'll have to dance around this for the moment. But at the beginning of, if you haven't seen Scoop, then just put your fingers in your ears and go la 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 la. I'm only going to last a couple of minutes. Story of my life. If it was Angelina Jolie, it'd be 30 seconds. Yes, of course. Rich says, I've been to a post-mortem. Only delay would be toxicology. That takes quite a while. But it depends whether they've got a backlog, whether they're sort of, they've got 100 or 200 or 300 people and they're working as fast as they can. But within Scoop, this Netflix Scoop, I thought it was very good. I thought it was quite a wild little watch. And I got some of the subtleties and the detail. Blimey, If you haven't seen it, Jeffrey Epstein's chin is out here somewhere. I mean, I know it's a prosthetic because it's an actor, but whew, that was a big chin. In the beginning, Samurai Cop, good to have you in the body of the Kirk this evening. You're a little late, you're wrong, but good to have you in from Dublin. Neil says, thank you all. She died in October 2022, aged 26 from, I don't know what Sudep is, Neil, and I don't want to be disrespectful by getting it wrong or attempting and getting it wrong. Sudden, oh, sorry, the sudden unexpected death in epilepsy. I'm sorry to hear that, Neil. And I hope you and your family have been able to heal a little since 2022. I know it's never easy, but I do appreciate you talking about it. Thank you. So in Netflix Scoop, at the beginning, obviously Prince Andrew was walking through the park, and it sort of portrays how they 16th of February 2024. I think this is the Steve Wright. The death was unexpected, but is not being treated as suspicious. The Met Police have said a report will be prepared for the coroner. So that's. Let's see what comes out, because I don't know whether they've buried him, whether they've had a funeral, but a lot of people are starting to ask the question, hang on a second, we don't know anything else. Has there been a funeral? And one of my best friends said to me just the other day, he's done it the last couple of weeks, yeah, Adrian, have you heard anything else about Steve Wright? And there's nothing. There is literally nothing anywhere. So the scoop starts with photographer getting that very famous picture of Prince Andrew and Epstein the pervert in the park in New York. But the way they've portrayed it in Scoop, they've got his royal protection officers like less than 6 feet behind him. Now, as I've told you before, the royal family always, I can't remember, I can't say that, nearly Adrian. I've said to you before that the royal family have to be treated in a very different way because they've got protection officers with them all the time. The senior royals, all the time. Harry, not so, because he's not senior royal anymore. But I've said to you, certainly in Holyrood Palace, that if you have an ordinary garden, it can look as beautiful as you want, but an ordinary garden will have walls. And if you think about the royal family, they're always within walls. Unless it's Balmoral, where there's tens of thousands of acres surrounding the seat. So what they do is they create a garden so that and if you've not heard this before, sorry, if you have heard this before, just bear with me for 30 seconds. If you haven't heard this before, this is the truth, because I've seen it with my own eyes. This is Holyrood Palace, in the gardens of Holyrood Palace. What they do is they create the garden so that the garden goes up to the top of the wall. So that when a royal is walking, the Queen or the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip, if they walked around the gardens at Holyrood Palace, they would look and they wouldn't see a wall, because walls are like cages, they're hemmed in. And this is one of the oldest bloodlines in the world, the royal family. So what they do is they create a garden that ostensibly just looks like it goes into Arthur's Seat or the volcanoes that are, because Edinburgh is sat on, isn't it, 4 or 5 volcanoes, extinct volcanoes. So they don't see the wall, because seeing a wall would make them feel hemmed in. And so when I don't know why Netflix didn't sort of allude to that, because the royal protection officers are not walking 4 or 5 paces behind their principal. They're miles away, so the principal doesn't see them, as in Prince Andrew or, I don't know, Prince William for that matter. Any of the senior royals, they are the principal, and their protection officers just kind of melt into the background, but are not so far away that if anything happens, they would be there in a millisecond. That's how it operates. And Netflix, with that little detail, for me personally, I just thought, no, that's not how it works. You should have done your research. And I also saw the same female jogging in 2 different scenes. Oh, yeah, man. You know, we're not daft lads all day, but same female was jogging towards the camera at one point and then jogging away, and was within New York while the photographer was running around New York jogging. And then when Andrew and Epstein were in the park, she jogs past them. I was like, oh, can you not sort of put another 50p in the meter and get another actress? And there was a beautiful quote within it, and it is this: if liberty means anything at all, it means the right to tell people what they don't want to hear. And I think it was one of the presentations about the BBC having to lay a load of journalists off. I'll say it again. If liberty means anything at all, it means the right to tell people what they don't want to hear. I think it's a marvellous quote. And there was somebody standing up going, and I remember when I was in the BBC, so I was within the BBC from 2000 as a presenter and producer and daft lad. I was in the BBC from sort of 2003, early 2004, late 2003, early 2004 until 2006. Everybody was told at that time, get a black tie in your locker, because we're not sure how long the Queen Mother's going to last. I mean, obviously I'm paraphrasing and using different words, but they all had black ties. The telly people all had black ties to prepare for the eventuality that was the Queen Mum's death. And at that point, the BBC had 29,000 employees. 29,000 on a very nice gravy train. I've also told you before that there was one guy working on the breakfast show. I'm not going to identify him. I'm not going to give you any more detail other than he was getting nearly 50 grand a year to do one package, which is a piece of audio, 4 or 5 minutes storytelling audio. It's called a package within the BBC. He did one package per week into the breakfast show. 50 G's a year. Nice. Oh, interesting, Robert. Thank you for that. I'll read that a little bit later. So, within Scoop, there was somebody standing up going, well, we're going to have to lay so many hundred journalists off. And, I mean, there are savings that can be made within the BBC, where the news department should be ring-fenced. Matter of opinion. Like Doctor Who. So, they're broadcasting the new Doctor Who at 7 p.m. so everybody in America gets it. Sorry, is it American 7 p.m? I think so. And we are able to watch it in real time. So it's about midnight here, if it's New York, who are 5 hours behind. So anyway, let's get into the detail. So BBC News, and they were saying within the frame of the shot, the future of BBC News, world changing, the world is changing, we need to change with it. Now this is back in, was it 2010? So I can't remember who was the Director General when I was at the BBC. I think he's over in America running a newspaper. Nice. Or is he a lord now? But either way, they were trying to get 29,000 down to 20,000. And I think they got close to it, about 22 or 23. So this is like 20 years worth of trying to reinvigorate the BBC. Don't think it's worked. But also within Scoop, or basically, this woman was standing up giving this speech whilst the producer of Newsnight was trying to get the interview with Andrew, and she was giving this presentation saying there's going to be all these layoffs. And it was very interesting what she said. She said the reason why we need to change is to prevent market failure in a digital world. They've not got close to that. That's for sure. So I'm going to ask you another question, which was... which I was going to leave for a little later, but I'm going to ask you, we'll do the radio question later, but I want to know your TV habits. Do you watch any terrestrial TV? The reason I'm asking the question, 1 for yes, 2 for no. The reason I'm asking the question is because the Antiques Roadshow beat Ant and Dec in the TV ratings. They also beat an episode of Coronation Street in the ratings. The Antiques Roadshow, I mean, it's so gentle and quaint. 4.9 million viewers. So I'll ask you the question that I'm, oh dear Lord. I know my audience. Do you watch any terrestrial TV? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Yeah, some people are saying, nope, no license anymore. Everybody, Pauline Makepeace, I think, may be unique. As Philippa, I would say there's probably 15 to 20% are saying, yes, they watch terrestrial TV. Most of the audience are saying, Tablock Tracy, I don't watch YouTube. You tart! Of course you do. Anyway, so there is also a character in this mix. And I'm going to tell you this, and it's going to be sort of, it's around the houses. But I know something, and I want to make a video about it. And I'm not going to give that away here, because there's other YouTubers that watch this. It's just lurk in the background, and they go, oh, great idea, I'll do that. Well, there is something that I know. And there's a character in Scoop, Jason North, who I think he was one of the press guys in the palace, and sort of Andrew's right-hand woman was saying, oh, great idea, yes, why don't we do it? And Jason North, because that's, I think, what they were presenting, Ian Brown Gravy Train. Which Ian Brown? You've got the fear. Possibly. YouTube best channel going. Thank you, Dave. So I believe that, and they don't call him any name. They don't say who it is, but I believe it to be Jason North. Jason North is no longer within royal circles. But this character in Scoop was saying, doing the interview was wrong. Doing the interview was the wrong thing. Don't do the interview. And Prince Andrew's right-hand woman says, oh, I think it'd be a great idea. Yes, of course. She was doing the negotiating, third-hand negotiating with the BBC. And Prince Andrew's been portrayed as a man-child. Because at the end of it, the way it was portrayed in Scoop, I'll leave you to watch it. I don't want to spoil it all for you, but you know the story. You know what happened. You know the kicking and flinging that went on after the interview when it was broadcast worldwide, kicking and flinging, proper. And as much as I think there's an element of his arrogance and entitlement, I understand that. But I don't think he's bright. I don't think academically he's bright. But within Scoop, Prince Andrew was portrayed as a man-child. Talking about, there was, everybody knows about the teddies. The teddies have to be set up on his bed exactly the same every single day. And he did something within Scoop that sort of gave you that flavour, that vibe of what he likes and what he doesn't. And I think he hands Polaroids out about how he wants his teddies. That's how he wants it. He's Prince Andrew, member of the royal family, do as you're told. But he also told a little story within this Scoop about, I don't know whether it was used to portray his vulnerability, but talking about, and, you know, King Charles has talked about this, Anne hasn't. Anne's made of completely different cloth. But the males within the royal family are very sensitive. And King Charles has talked about how mummy, he had maybe abandonment issues early days in his life, because he was sent away to school, but he just wanted to be around mummy. Because when he was born, mummy wasn't meant to be queen. Mummy was just going to be mummy, very posh and very wealthy mummy. But the character, and I think Rufus Sewell it's very interesting, because I think acting is just about believability. And if you can believe the character, then the actor is doing their job. So Rufus Sewell as Prince Andrew was very, very, very believable. And the Prince Andrew character within Scoop talks about Mummy combing his hair. I think it was the next day or that day he was going to school, first day at school, and Mummy was just being Mummy, not the Queen, not royalty, not the royal family or privilege. It was just him and Mummy, and she was combing his hair, and he said he didn't want it to stop. That's a huge insight into the mindset of the royal family. Literally, money is no object. But having your mum comb your hair, I think all the chaps, maybe it could be reversed. All the girls having their dad comb their hair. I'm not too sure that men combing their little girls' hair is, because men are a bit roughy toughy. They're not as gentle sometimes as they need to be, and I'm sure the girls will vouch for that. Because I've got sisters, and they always used to say when my dad was brushing, or dad. But when my mum did it, it was lovely and gentle and soft. So I thought that was a very clever insight that they wove into the storytelling of Scoop. It's for you to watch and decide. Myself, I thought, I mean, I know the story backwards and some of the subtleties. Like at the end, Andrew, in real life, clapped his hands and went, tonight's movie night. Anyone want to stay for a movie? In the palace, in Buckingham Palace. And the three main characters, Emily Maitlis within Scoop, the producer, and one of the guys who was also a producer, they left Buckingham Palace walking out, getting to the gate, and then just kind of leaving it. But in real life, Emily Maitlis has said in the past that they left Buckingham Palace not saying a word. They got into a cab, not saying a word. And they got back to the BBC, and literally, when they closed the door, they went, what the foxtrot was that? Because they knew what they had. He just offered himself as a sacrificial lamb. So it's very, very interesting. I thought, Gillian Anderson is one of my favourite actresses because of the X-Files from the 90s. I just thought I was fabulous. I'm a bit of a fanboy. And I loved her Margaret Thatcher in The Crown. I thought she was brilliant as Margaret Thatcher. So I'm watching this, and I'm watching Gillian Anderson, and I thought, hang on, is she channeling Margaret Thatcher doing Emily Maitlis? There is an element of that. So, but she's still a fine, fine actress. She'll win awards for this. But Billie Piper. Oh, Billie Piper. I mean, you and I have probably known Billie Piper since she was a kid, coming through the acting schools and then having a pop career, marrying Chris Evans, and marrying other notaries. We shall call them that. We won't say anything else, because he's been banned by YouTube. And she's grown into a very, very fine actress, and I think she steals this. Yeah, you're going to look at Prince Andrew and go, you might look at Gillian Anderson as Emily Maitlis and go, is that Margaret Thatcher? But the whole ensemble piece was very good. Very, very good. Yeah, Neptune Gamer, because we want to. I bet you do. Yeah, wrong. So more royal stories coming out. I've said to you before that this is the royal family. What are they up to, man? They literally, it's a soap opera. Now, I don't know whether they're doing this on purpose. They can have the best PRs, public relations. They can have the best staff of anyone, anywhere, ever. Not that they're going to pay good money, because I know they're a bit tight with their money. But little royalty extra, Harry needs permission from Meghan. Grow a pair. Just grow a pair. Now, whatever the missus is going to say, just put her in a place. Now, growing up, my dad used to say to me, and he was a hard man. and tough man. And he said to me, you raise your hands to a woman, you'll have me to deal with. And it doesn't have to be thus. If she's a bit of a dominatrix and he's a bit of a cook, then that's C-U-C-K, not C-O-O-K before you start. And I have to dance around certain bits of language. You don't need permission from your wife to do anything. Ever. You communicate and discuss it between you. If there's something that, either of you are unhappy about, then it's all about communication. It's all about the language and the communication. But we know, looking at them, she's in charge. She wears the trousers. And I was going to tell you tonight, she's now saying that, so the bits of reportage that I'm seeing, Meghan is intimating that the Invictus Games is all about her. How does that work? They weren't even about Harry. It was the Warrior Games in America. Somebody within the palace came up with a great idea. The idea was given to Harry for Harry to have something to give his life purpose. It was never his idea. It was somebody else's, but they gave it to him so that he had a purpose. And now she's like, oh, I'm behind the Invictus Games. When I read that, I literally could not draw breath. Because how can somebody say that? When we know what the truth is. We know what the story was. It was the palace. They looked at the Warrior Games, American Warrior Games, and created the Invictus Games. Gave it to Harry. Made it look like it was Harry's idea. Gave it to Harry for Harry's purpose. His life's purpose. Before that, he and he's self-admitted in his book Spare, he was just off his nut on gear all the time. So they gave him the Invictus Games to give him purpose. And every man needs a purpose in his life. Interviewing Jimmy Page. So let me tell you about, now I proper got pelters when I said that the Easter weekend, Catherine and the kids was fake. I said when other pictures came out, like Kate going to Windsor Farm Shop, fake. And now there are picture agencies saying that the video on the bench is AI. Because everybody has backed off because the press started saying the trolls are out. The trolls won't leave Catherine alone. And Catherine is struggling with cancer. No, she's not. No, she is not. She had an abdominal surgery, and when they took whatever they took out, they found cancerous cells. That is not a tumour. It was cancerous cells. So she's having chemotherapy as a precaution. Words out of the palace, words out of her mouth. Whether it's her mouth or not is a different matter. But everybody, the media are like, no, you can't do that. Leave alone. Hang on a second. I'm not dim all day. I know what I'm seeing. I know what I'm experiencing. And I know what you said. I know exactly what these propaganda peddlers, what BS was coming out of their newspapers and their mouths. Like they were trying to label me as a troll. Oh, mate, Foxtrot, Oscar, man. I know what they've told us. And I know what the evidence is. We need to tell these idiots, here. But why they're hiding it? One of the agencies was Getty Images. Now, Getty Images, they don't muck about. They issued a kill notice on the Easter photograph. Getty Images are saying that the video is deemed AI. Now, remember, in January, we were told Easter, she's going to be back on working. And now they're saying 27th of April. Still another fortnight to go. Well, 20 days, nearly 3 weeks. Have you seen the pictures of the King and the Queen? Now, I looked at that. I don't know whether you have any experience of people grinning like Cheshire Cats for no apparent reason. Yeah, I have. Radio is awash with it. And for me, this is just the Emperor's new clothes. There's a couple of old duffers with sunglasses on and it's not sunny. And the pair of them, if you look at the picture, they're grinning their heads off. And then they're announcing that they're going to go to Australia. Now, I get that what they are trying to do is they're trying to maintain and manage the narrative so that people don't attack the royal family, so that they can manage the narrative. And the narrative is the king is on the mend. He's doing very well, thank you very much. And they're putting it in his diary so that he can go and spend time in Australia, which for some of the doom mongers, A, he's not dead. B, he's not dying yet. But I hate to say this to you, we all do in the end. None of us get out of here alive. But they just, on the front of the scum, they just look like a couple of old duffers. And they are relatively quite an age. And I look at them and they're grinning their heads off. And everybody around them doesn't have sunglasses on and they're not grinning. And my first response was, ooh. Now nobody is questioning it. And remember, I say to you, question everything. I do. Cynical, old, tart. So I believe what the game is so they'll put stuff in the press like Rwanda or getting rid of the European Convention for Human Rights. And Rich Boy, the jockey, he'll say, oh, we're going to leave it. And people are up in arms or they're arguing or they're setting people against each other. But that's the game. That is the game. They'll get you so angry that you will accept anything that they offer. I wonder if Camilla's of an age where she gets slightly confused. And I'm sure she's got pet names for the king. They're getting on now. But I wonder if Camilla was just walking around asking for Charlie. But it's a beautiful picture. The king and the queen together. They obviously love each other. And their sunglasses. And Meghan, the Invictus Games is all about her now. I've said to you many times, we'll leave the royals alone because it gets a bit... But at least William and Catherine are not in the press. Nobody's asking anything about William and Catherine. Slaggers. They were supposed to go to Italy in January. Didn't go. They'd arranged that. And, the royals have their diaries are organised by multiple people. Multiple people. They have staff coming out of their ears. If you pardon the pun. Got William pegged. So, we'll have to wait till April 27th. And then they'll come up with something else. If it waddles like a duck, quacks like a duck, and paddles like a duck, it's a duck. I won't be getting my MBE, that's for certain. Let's talk about... let's ask another question. So, this time it's not 1 for yes and 2 for no. I would like your take on this. Because, as I say, I'm a cynical old tart. I don't take everything that I'm fed. Because I know the game. I've been in the game for many years. Telly, newspapers, radio. Ooh, What's Echo Bunny Woman saying now? If Charles has cancer and attended the Easter church service, then why couldn't Kate attend? Perfect question. Because, Charles initially was struggling. You could see it in his eyes. His eyes were bloodshot. You would see. So why couldn't she attend? I agree with you. But this is the question that I want to ask you. Let's go away from the royals for a moment. Why do you think there is a huge influx of cancers in society? Why do you think there is a huge influx of cancers in society? So this week I've had a couple of friends get in touch to say that some of our friends are struggling. Yeah, Jackie Glasgow's got this pretty on point. On the video announcement, Adrian, I wondered where her mole had gone, but looking at other things, sometimes it's there and does add to her attractiveness, and sometimes not. Perhaps on bad days, she conceals. Well, there is that. Does she put her own makeup on? She's got staff to do everything. I mean, I watch Downton Abbey. I know what goes on in these kind of places. So again, I'm going to ask you the question, why do you think there is a huge influx of cancers in society? Because I always reflect back to my youth, and cancer was very rare growing up. Now, there is a particular company that see it as a business opportunity. So they bought a Canadian company that deals with turbo cancers. And they bought this particular company for way over the mark. Now, I always thought that if you're buying a company, it was 6 times turnover. So the company was worth a couple of billion. They bought it for 42 billion. So they wanted it because they knew what was coming. So I'd love to know your thoughts. And if you want to use different words, use jibber jabber if you're a little nervous about stuff, because I understand completely where we've been for the last 4 years. And most people haven't really got their confidence back unless you're like just a raging Scotsman who just wants to fight all the time. Then I get that. But if you want to use the term jibber jabber or anything else, please put it in the comments, because I would love to know. Why do you think there's a huge influx of cancers in society? One of my former colleagues that I worked with for a long, long time, many years, I heard that they had passed away this week. And there's every chance that it is what you and I both think it is. But we will wait, because in Scotland, the Procurator Fiscal will have to determine mode of death. I have a dear friend of mine who I hope he has a turbo, and I'm hearing it more and more and more. And as much as it saddens me, and I'm sure it saddens you, and you will have had similar stories to me, you will have friends and or family, or you will know of colleagues that are passing away quite suddenly. Why do you think there's a huge influx of cancers in society? And while you're responding, because I do have another question or two before we finish, I love a piece of vinyl. I do, because that was my mode. And CDs, okay, but then after that, I wasn't into, buying stuff where you are renting a little 3-minute or 4-minute or 5-minute piece of audio, because that's what it is. People were getting rid of all their musical archive and just having like online playlists. And oh yeah, I bought this and I bought this. No, you just rent it for your lifetime, so that when you skip off upstairs with your wings and your halo and your harp, sitting in the cloud going, oh, I had a fabulous time playing my harp, lovely. Nobody gets your music collection. Nobody. Because it dies with you. As where vinyl, to a certain extent, CD. Do you know what CD cancer is? not related. It's just a technical term that they use. So when they're manufacturing the CDs, if anything gets under the lacquer, then it's, my understanding is that it bubbles the lacquer over the CD, and it looks like it forms all kinds of random shapes and squares and stuff. It's called CD cancer. One of my promo Beatle CDs, the BBC released the Beatles at the BBC, and it was a promo, so it was worth a shitload of money. And a few years ago, I've had it for a long time. A few years ago, I went and had a look at it. CD cancer. So I can sell it, but not for as much as I could before. But the reason I'm talking about musical collections is because in today's newspaper, and I say it again, they obviously think we're thick. Do you know that seemingly climate change is warping vinyl records? How do we end shite, man? Climate change. They will try every which way to get you to be scared of climate change. Well, I will tell you this, and I say it again because nobody can give me the answer. Chlorofluorocarbons. Back in the 80s, we were told ozone layer. We're all going to die. Ozone layer. We're all going to die. You're having an early death because the ozone layer's got a massive big hole in it the size of Australia. And they weren't best happy when the ozone layer repaired itself. So there's no longer a hole in the ozone layer to frighten you with, to scare you with. And that's why I'm mentioning tomorrow. But they're now saying, oh yes, climate change is going to warp your vinyl. Is it absolute rollocks? I mean, I'm sure there's a journo, the propaganda peddlers, sitting at the desk. They've obviously had too much cooking sherry when they've been out for a liquid lunch and come back and gone, what can I just lie about now? Yes, if you leave your vinyl in sunshine, and you know, some of the skills have gone of handling vinyl, but the sun will warp your records if you leave it in direct sunlight. That's not climate change. It's just being stupid. In a couple of weeks, well, actually, it might be this week because I am looking at it. There's something within the media called Purdah. And what that is when you lead up to an election, you can't talk about politics because evidently the media has influence. So coming up to a general election, it's a month or so. So you can't, in a month leading up to a general election, I can't talk to you as part of the bigger media. You won't see it in newspapers. That's why the media always say, and that's Keir Starmer, Labour Party, but there are other political parties like, the Conservatives and the Greens and Reform, and they have to list all of the varying political parties. That's why they do it. So it's not seen to influence the election, which the Japanese find most amusing. Well, the Japanese don't use L in their alphabet. It's an R. I'll leave it with you. They'll burst out laughing when you work it out. So Purdah, this time, I think, is going to be 3 weeks. So from sort of the 11th of April up until May 2nd for the local elections. It's not as rigorous or strict with the local elections because they presume that you have some semblance of intelligence to be able to determine the difference between one party and another. But it's called Purdah, and all the media, radio, telly, especially the press, are not allowed to talk and not allowed to opine about varying political parties. So I might just shut up about the perverts in the Pink Palace for a couple of weeks. To kind of add a little addendum to the question that I asked, why do you think there's a huge influx of cancers in society? Look, we'll tackle the elephant in the room, shall we? I'm not interested in whether you did or you didn't have the jibber jabber. I'm not. I'm interested in those influential people. Remember them? The celebrities, the media, the politicians that had the audacity to push something they knew little about. That's what rankles me. And we know some of the names. If you want to comment, then you can. Please do, because it's always interesting to read afterwards. But you were convinced either way. You were awake and alive, or you were just trying to do the right thing. So I'm not, be reassured, having a go. Because it was difficult times, difficult stuff was going on. We didn't know what was up or down. People were having parties and cake and beer, and they were telling us to stay at home. What I'm interested in now is all these people that have ducked, all these people that were paid in advertising, all these people that were paid by governments to say, take it. All those influential people who are now hiding behind anonymity, almost. They're not willing to come out and go, yeah, well, yeah. The Americans, I feel sorry for the Americans because then, well, they just were told in no uncertain terms. But these influential people, the celebrities, the media, the politicians, they had the audacity to push something that they knew little about, and some of them were paid. They took the shilling. And that's what rankles me. Communities and people worldwide were all trying to do the right thing. Hang on, what's Andrew James said? Remember when vinyl were pressed on recycled plastics due to the oil shortage? I do. And most of these records jumped. Bell, Warner and Electro Records are potluck if they play without issues. Interesting. Didn't know that. But I think I was a little young. The oil, I remember the power cuts in the 70s with the mines and the oil. OPEC trying to sting everybody, the oil producing, exporting countries, OPEC. Jerry Darcy. That's very interesting, Jerry. The dentist guy up here told everybody to take it, has left his post or was sacked. Maybe they didn't know. There will be some people who didn't know and were scared. Because I know my dentist, blimey, the stuff they put in place, they were saying, well, we have to do this, and you can't do that, and we're not only are we trying to look after our customers, our clientele, but we also have to look after the staff. So people were up against it because we weren't being informed. We couldn't make informed decisions. And as I say, the elephant in the room is not about whether you did or you didn't. The elephant in the room is about these celebrities that took the shilling, that took the money, took the pay, and told you to have it. That's why I asked you about one of the questions I asked you a little earlier. I'm going to give you some good news. We'll have some balance to what we're doing tonight. I literally could talk for 4 hours, non-stop, without taking a breath. I want to give you some, it's kind of good news, but the Sycamore Gap tree, the sycamore tree at Sycamore Gap? We're 6 months on to it, from it being cut down. Oh, I'm sorry, Amalia, to hear that. Tonight is being far too close to home. Sometimes we're going to have tough conversations, because this is not about waking people up anymore. This is about finding other lions. And I know a lot of people come here for varying reasons. And I don't mean to upset anyone. I just know that we're not alone in fighting this evil. We just have to find the other lions. I think it's too late for some people. Sycamore Gap, 6 months on. The locals joke that the stump will grow back before police find the culprit or culprits. They reckon, the fact is that there are 2 men on bail for this. on bail, not charged. What was that? Dan Payne. No, I might have been up there. But there is a source close to the investigation that's saying suspects are not local but come from Cumbria. Now, we can all speculate if we have small smidgens of information. But they've said, the tree may be alive and it may take a while, but it may re-sprout. I mean, what was it, 180 years old? And this same source says that the culprits could have acted out of sheer childishness rather than any malice. Police have said that they could be closing in on the scum-sucking pond life that did this, but we have no guarantee that they have. It's all Harry and Meghan tonight. I think it's something that saddened the nation. And I think as a collective, we just look for some kind of hope. And I know some political parties are standing on the hope ticket, but you can't get any hope from multimillionaires that are running political parties, because the power corrupts them. If you look at Reform, Richard Tice, worth about £94 million. Is he going to know what you need? And some people would go, oh, stop the Tory bashing, or stop the Labour Party bashing, or stop this party bashing. I'm not. I'm saying that politics is corrupt. All of it. It's corrupt. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I will say that going to my grave. Look, I've been a card-carrying member of some of the political parties when I was younger. My dad was a very active Labour Party man and was a councillor in Sunderland. So I've been close to it. And these politicians, you don't need me to tell you. You're very much awake and alive to what is going on. But politics is done. We haven't got an alternative. They give you the alternative, which is a two-party system. If you look at what's happening in America, where are my notes? I was going to mention this later, but the Americans are now saying, I can't vote for Biden, but I can't vote for Trump either. And in this country, this sceptred isle, I've told you this before, people will stand there when they're putting their vote down and they'll say, I can't vote Tory, but I can't vote Labour either. Is this all set up so it's an apathetic response from you and I? We just go, what's the point? Well, the point is, you need to vote with your conscience and your heart. Sorry, Marley, I'm not quite sure what's been going on in the comments, but I will, once I've read it, I will respond to you. And love and light to you also, as a Reiki master of 18 years. So I believe that the voters are just going to stand there and go, what the hell do we do? We've had this last 4 or 5 years. We wanted to do the best by everybody at that time. We were just trying to do the right thing. That's why I've asked you the question this evening. But is politics just about the power and about the money? I mean, the game is you get to be chosen as an MP, Member of Parliament, 650 of them, and they're all at it from the minute they walk through the door. It's a beautiful place. Experienced it. Beautiful. But they get in there and they try to make as much money as quickly as they can before they get found out. That's the game. That's the political game. And you've got American politicians who go in there and have like $150,000, $180,000 a year, and they walk out with 20 million in the back pocket. How does that work? We've got a prime minister who grays the water or muddies the water with, no, I don't do any business deals. My wife's her own entity. Where's the integrity in Parliament? Where is it? Because from where I'm sitting, it's all corrupt. All of it. All of it. I mean, they have tried numerous times to catch these MPs out. The scandal around their expenses. They just change the rules. They just change the way they do it. So I believe that America doesn't know what to do. I don't blame them, but I don't think they know what to do. I can't vote for Biden and I can't vote for Trump. That's because they're not looking hard enough. They don't get the game. The game is that the Reds, the left, the Marxists, the communists, they want to stop Trump at any cost. Now, I'm not on either side of the political spectrum, and I'm not saying that one is the same or better than. What I'm saying to you is, your eyes are open, study it. And can America vote for anyone else other than someone that's already been president? I mean, if you look at Sniffy Joe, Sleepy Joe, Trump's coming out saying he's on something. Well, how are you, man? You were president. You know what he's on. Because the agencies were 3 letters, just getting him through. And they're trying to work out how they can get him through and get him re-elected. Unless it's Barack Obama playing on the PlayStation, playing president on the PlayStation. He said he always wanted to do that. I'm going to give you an insight into human beings, men and women. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus, seemingly, according to the books. But Tinder, I've never been on there. I don't know what that entails. But they've done this survey and they've analysed 23,000 responses. Now, the usual surveys are maybe 1,100, 1,200 responses. They've got 23,000 responses. And men like to talk about, when they're, going on a date, men like to talk about footy, weightlifting, bit random, and pubs. But you see, men talking about footy and weightlifting in pubs is a turn-off for women. Women would rather, girls, I'm not taking a mickey, seemingly this is 23,000 responses. Women say they would rather chat about travel. Have you come far today? Sound like hairdresser. Music, coffee. Is that a strong coffee you're on? Movies and walking fast. So they're saying to men, look, if you want to have a high value woman, you have to, you might need to skip some subjects and have hobbies and skip some hobbies to appeal to a woman in today's age. I mean, I've told you many times in this particular live, I'm a cynical old tart. I would just say, do you want to come for a ride? Me Ferrari's parked out front. I haven't. I'd be lying. But I wouldn't be able to stop laughing. You see, to men, and women have told us for decades and decades and decades, we're complicated. Agreed. But so are men. You can always tell when a man's in pain. He's silent. He doesn't come looking for reassurances, because the right kind of man isn't these muscle Marys, tattooed up idiots with roid rage. A real man is the man that gets up every morning and is possibly doing a job that he hates, doesn't want to do, but does it because he has to. So talking about music and travel and all that malarkey, I think human beings, both sides of the spectrum, male and female, we need to get back to who we truly are. With decency and integrity, and not having a high value man, as they say. The kids are done. Honestly, I can't wait till World War III kicks off and they go, there's the gun, right, put your uniform on, you go at the front line, you're fighting, mate. Oh, no, you can't do that. I'll have a word. I'll set me mum on you. No. And do you know something? The good ones are always taken. But a man now is looking at the body count. And I'm not talking about in a war. I'm talking about any woman that comes up to him and they may have a relationship. He'll want to know the body count. I saw a video today of some woman who says, yeah, I've been out of a relationship for 10 days and I've slept with 22 people. What? I mean, I understand and I get that nowadays people need to be validated as to who they are. And how they're validating themselves is by having half a dozen people on the go at the same time. That's not validation. That's idiocy. Because, and I'll use a very old word, but it needs to be looked at. When I met the new Mrs. Allen, I took my time. Courting. It's a very quaint and it's a very old word. But I always believe if I met someone and I wanted to have a relationship with them and they didn't particularly, face for radio, Adrian, face for radio, I would just go, okay, it's fine. Because the right one will appear. And she did. That's why I married her. For millions of different reasons. But it's only when you can't, I'll go out and I'll, dance the light fandango. We have to, as human beings, we're not human doings, we're human beings. We need to get an understanding and context. Where's the decency? Where's the integrity? But most importantly, where's the love? Because the only thing we leave behind in this world is love. And if you're banging like a barn door in a storm, where's the love? Now you can turn around and say, Jesus, Adrian, have you turned into a tree hugger? It was talking about that blooming Sycamore Gap tree. You just want to hug them. No, not at all. All the great wise men, all the great sages, the world over, time immemorial. Love and light. And light is love. And if I could offer anything to the youth of the world, because they're going to get it tight. It's coming, and they're going to get it tight. I hope they're lucky enough to find a great love. My mum and dad were married. My mum went 2018. Nearly 50 years. And the new Mrs. Allen, we celebrated her parents' 60th, 6-0, diamond anniversary. They are getting more and more rare every day. And, I can crack a few gags. But even cracking gags is now seen as hate speech. Notice how they've described it. Hate speech. Not love. Not humorous. Nothing. They call it hate speech. I would like to think that they would allow us to say whatever our life experience allows. And I will say to you, I've had some shit stuff happen to me, like really bad shit stuff. Does that not count? Blimey, getting a bit heavy tonight, Adrian. That's how the world turns. So I was talking about Tinder. I've never been on there. I don't know what it is. Is that the swipe left, swipe right thing? But I will say my observations on human beings and how they portray their life or they live their life. I think people are very confused at the moment. They don't know who they are. Maybe one day I'll talk about the MMR vaccine and how I believe it's... I'll do it another time because I have to pick around that very carefully. Have you seen This Town on the BBC We talked about Scoop, but I was really looking forward to This Town on the BBC. It's the Rudies, the Rude Boy, the ska, the punk, the reggae, the skinheads, all the genres, all the different. But notice how, I haven't seen it all, and I'll kind of give you a report on it when I do, because I want to talk about The Gentleman in a moment, especially around Vinnie Jones. But this, it's all about two-tone. What a record label that was. Whether it was the Specials or Paulie and Black or The Beat or Madness. Do you know what I don't think the kids have nowadays? Rebellion. They've got no rebellion in their hearts. I don't mean anarchy. Oh, that was kind of punk-ish. But rebellion. Not doing what they're being told to do. They're getting off, they're not on gear. They live their lives through recreational stuff that because they're so insecure and full of anxiety. Where's the rebellion? Jesus, you couldn't stop me fighting in my teen years. Rebellion, I was up for all of it. But I'm going to ask you another question. Just so I know who's watching this. I don't know whether you had rebellion in your heart, whether in some cases you sang rebel songs. But who was your tribe? Were you punkish or metal or Motown? Or were you around when the Beatles were around, so you were kind of Merseyside? What was your tribe? Were you two-tone? Were you the ska, the punks, the reggae, the skinheads? The melting pot of humankind. It was always around music, because music is really powerful. But they get Ed Sheeran and Taylor Swift. Oh, Foxtrot, Oscar. I mean, I was telling you a story at the beginning of this live about Jimmy Page. Some people might not have known who Jimmy Page was, but let me tell you, he's one of the greatest axemen, as in guitarist, ever. Some of Led Zeppelin's songs, 50 years old. So what was your tribe growing up, your teenage years? What was your tribe? Because I feel really sorry for anybody that goes, I'm a Swiftie. Throw the wrong stuff out when they're trying to find the afterbirth. What's your tribe? K-pop, interesting. Mod music. Oh, this is the time for action. One of my favourite songs. ABBA's 50 years old. Yeah, they invented Camel Toe, the pair of them. No, top 40. Brilliant Fern. I know. And, you know, the kids now, where is their rebellion? Where is it? Has it been knocked out of them? Has it been, you know, the propaganda machine? Has it got them in their claws and they don't have any rebellion? Or is it because they just want to be managed? George Soros wants to manage them more easy. Give them Taylor Swift. They'll do as they're told. Nikki says, love the 80s. Me too, Nikki. I was on the radio in the 80s. Ooh. Robert Francis, you're wrong. Stock Aitken and Waterman. Tart. Des Ashton. Oh, Des. Mod. Good to see you, Des. But we all had a tribe. We all naturally gravitated towards something that just made us feel, made us emote, made us... It literally just wrapped itself around your heart and you just went, that's me. Didn't matter what the clothes were. It was the music. And it was, I mean, I've pinged around from, you know, I was born, my as I left school, my teenage years were punk. I loved the electronica at the beginning of the 80s. I loved the stadium stuff. Prince. Oh, I mean, losing Prince was such a wrench for me because he was just sensationally, insanely, awesomely talented. And he hadn't quite got into jazz yet. And I was looking forward to his development as an artist going into jazz. Were you into, I mean, if you just take the 70s, sort of from late 60s, you had all the flower power stuff from sort of the year of love, 68. And then you get into like proper rock, proper, like the Sweet and Slade. I'm talking about the UK mainly now. Nicky Watson, Meatloaf. Nicky, one night, I'll tell you my story about meeting and interviewing Meatloaf. We nearly got into a fight, us two, much bigger than me, but I wasn't backing down. And I'll tell you it now. So, Tyne Tees Television, because literally I've got pages of stuff. I can keep going till midnight. So the record company got in touch and said, look, Meatloaf and John Parr are coming up to Tyne Tees to do Razzmatazz. Do you want to do an interview? And I was like, yeah. So I went up to, I was on Teesside. So I went up to Razzmatazz, watched some of the show being recorded, and Meatloaf and John Parr did their song, and they came off stage, and the guy from the record company was like, come on mate, put you in, Meatloaf's in that one, and John Parr's across the corridor in that one. John Parr will wait for you. You've got 12 to 15 minutes maximum, absolute maximum, with Meatloaf. And he was a big lad. He was a proper old beefy bruiser, big boy. So I'm sitting there just kind of with a microphone and a spooled tape. Wasn't none of this new fandangled stuff. It was just a spool of tape. And I was like, no. And it was fine. It was, just doing the stuff and just asking him about the song and stuff. And I asked him this question. And I said, so how would you feel if your daughter came into the industry? A real innocuous question. Oh, I've no idea why, but it obviously triggered him, and he kicked off big time. He was making threats. I think I've still got the spool of tape with the original interview archive with all the arguing. And I was like, you got foxtrot Oscar. And he was like, "Ooh." He stands up, and I'm thinking, he's going to land me one here. He's big. So I thought, do I get in first? Do I knock Meatloaf out? Is he going to knock me out? Is the guy from the record company guy must have heard something out in the corridor? Open the door, pop his head, and it's me and him going. And he went, Adrian, John Parr's waiting for you. Just come over there. And he had to go in and soothe Meatloaf. I've no idea what he kicked off about. Don't know what he was on to start with, but he kicked off big time, and I just thought, fuck, Oscar. I'm not having this from you, you wrong'un. So I went into the dressing room on the other side of the corridor, and John Parr said to me, you all right? I was like, yeah, I'm not quite sure what's happened there. And he said, don't worry about it. Don't worry. Just take a couple of minutes. Just come and sit in here. And John Parr, to his credit, was fabulous. He was just a real professional. He just knew what the deal was. And we did a great interview. And I took it back to the radio station the next day. And I said to the lads, holy Jesus, you never guess what happened to me last night? What? Meatloaf kicked off big time. Did he? Yeah. I think it was Mercenaries. I can't remember the song off the top of my head. But anyway, we played the song, played some of the interview. We kept our end of the bargain. So, Stuart, you obviously hit a nerve. I know, but I don't know why. I just asked about his daughter. I was just trying to look for angles to get different answers. He'll have done the same questions 1,000,001 times, but he proper kicked off. Andrew James, yeah. To Stuart, Meatloaf was always a fragile bloke with a huge ego. Well, I can testify with that. I mean, I didn't mean him any harm or ill, because he was, comparatively, he must have been, at his heaviest, he must have been topping 25 stone. That runs into you. You know about it. Southern Death Cult. Great music. Oh, yeah. Blimey. I mean, I can... We'll get on to talking about The Gentleman on Netflix. But I literally love music so much that I could talk about it for days. I could keep going on for days and days and days. I want to talk about Vinnie Jones and Guy Ritchie. They've done this TV series on Netflix called The Gentleman. Now, I don't know whether you've seen it. It only dropped, I think, on Friday. No, that was Scoop. So it might have dropped this week and was number one at one point. And Vinnie Jones has, I mean, he has an amazing story. Yeah, all the footy stuff. But as I was talking about sort of men a little earlier, Vinnie's a man's man. And losing the love of his life was obviously very traumatic for him. Money won't have mattered to him. But he is in this, is quite a character in The Gentleman. But he's now got a kind of new relationship in his life. He calls her Blondie. And I'm really happy for him because Tanya was the love of his life. Sadly, she passed away from cancer a few years ago. I think he's been on his own for 4 years, maybe 5 years. But he's met someone new. And I think he may have met her around about this Gentleman thing from Guy Ritchie. But if you haven't seen it, it's 8 episodes and it's literally Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels rehashed. I mean, they've taken some of the story arcs from within. It's posh boy loses some gear and then has to fight other gangs to get the gear back. There's even a boxer in there that might be the Brad Pitt character, the Brad Pitt gypsy. There's even gypsies in there flogging gear. It's all, I don't know whether he's sort of taken it and wanted to evolve it a little somewhere else that he always wanted to do, but he had 8 episodes to do it in. And it's Guy Ritchie produced and directed. Vinny, you can see that, look, staying faithful to someone isn't a chore. When you really love someone, staying faithful to them is a blessing. It's not a chore at all. And Vinny, for all of his footy stuff and, hard man stuff, when you love the right person, staying faithful is never a chore. I remember, again, I won't give any names or areas or details, but there was somebody that was around me that was married with 2 kids. And he pulls me one night. Not like that. Stop making your own gags up. And he says, to me, I want to tell you something. We're in the pub. I said, all right, well, what's going on? He said, I'm having an affair. Oh, yeah? He said, yeah. He said, what do you think? I said, you can get back home to your missus. Stop getting about and get back home to your wife and kids. And he said, oh, but all the lads are like patting me on the back. He said, there's this, that, and the other. She's a looker. The sex is amazing. And loads of the lads are like, well done, well done, well done. I said, you made a commitment to someone. I don't care how long you've been with him. You have responsibilities as a man. Get back home to your wife and 2 kids. Anyway, we finished, talked about something else. He went home and had preyed on his mind, evidently, because 2 weeks later, he says, you saved my marriage. He said, while everybody else was telling me, oh, brilliant, brilliant, give her one for me, you were the only person that said to me, get back home to your wife and kids. You have responsibilities as a man. Take them. And he said, by you saying that, he said, I just went home, floods of tears, and trying to work it out. I mean, he still flip-flopped a little, like this actress from Downton. Her and her actor husband, he's been dancing with somebody else, went back to her. She put certain limitations down for him to be able to come back. He went back, and then he went back to the mistress, and then he's come back. And people are just saying to her, look, he's never going to change. Leopard never changes his spot. Get rid of him. So, again, I say, where is the integrity? Where is the decency? Look, there's no conscience on an upstanding Richard. Where is the integrity and decency? Couple of more things. Facial recognition. It's been hailed as the biggest breakthrough in crime detection. Nah, behave. You know how to get round facial recognition, don't you? Grow a beard. And I don't mean Sophie Wessex. Grow a beard. Because facial recognition doesn't recognise anybody with a beard. Just leave that with you. And I want to talk about willy waving MPs. I could talk about the NHS because some of it is just... Do you know that some NHS trusts are paying £2,500 for a single nurse shift? The nurses don't get that. The agencies. And there's currently 35,000 vacancies in nursing in the NHS. 35,000. We've got all this wrong. We've got the priorities all wrong. And the politicians, they need the Foxtrot Oscar. So let's talk about I think he's the deputy or vice president of the 1922 committee. I don't know whether you know what the 1922 committee is. Some people will. The 1922 committee is the committee that got rid of Margaret Thatcher. I said to her, enough, Margaret, off you go. We don't want you as Prime Minister. We're going to put John Major in. Mr. Grey loves peas. He's the VP of the 1922 committee. And who is he? William Ragg? Well, Willie by name. And somehow we're not really getting to the bottom of this. So we'll call them Richard picks for very obvious reasons. If you don't know what they are, ask, and people will fall off their perch laughing, but they will tell you. We'll call them Richard picks. So this Willie Ragg sent 14 telephone numbers to some scammer. I mean, is it me? I mean, these people want power, and these people are supposedly the best of the best of the best. And some of them, they literally, if brains were dynamite, they wouldn't have enough to blow their cap off. So somebody scams them, and he gets, you know, the old Richard out, takes a pic and sends them to anybody. And they're trying their damnedest to cover this up. 1922 committee. Nobody knows who's on the 22 committee. Ish. So, Willie, by name, sends 14 telephone numbers to the scammer. And Willie sends Richard pics to these numbers. 3 of them sent Richard pics back. Now, not only is it madness that one MP is suddenly saying, oh, I'll take a picture of the old chap, the schmettel, and I'll just send it to randoms. He gets 3 back. The scammer gets 3 back. So what I want to know is, who are the 3 that sent them back to the blackmailer? That's what we need to know. So the blackmailer is sending Richard pics to everybody. 3 of the 14 people that he send pictures of their own Richard back to the blackmailer. They're all scum-sucking pond life. They're all off their heads. Now, I kind of grew up in a pre-pic age. The kind of stuff that we ever saw was in magazines. You didn't get them in newspapers, not those kind of newspapers. But the only people that had pictures taken of them were models and famous people. Grindr? So another Tory MP gets caught out with his trolleys round his ankles. Do these people get elected and chosen on their stupidity? If you look at Hugh Edwards, he was doing exactly the same. Giving 35 grand to some youth. The family find out that Hugh's doing Richard pics and sending him backwards of, okay, send me some more, I'll send you some more money. So how did a Tory MP get caught out? They're saying, oh, it's a honey trap. Well, not so much honey. You can get away with it. Yeah, Theo Bovril says he sent them phone numbers of the Willie Benders. Willie by name. So how did a Tory MP get caught out? We had the huge Hugh Edwards story for weeks. They were all caught out with the trousers around their ankles and pictures of their honourable member. Names were handed out on a dating app. They're calling it a dating app. Grindr, dating. Hello, and shine. The BBC are describing it as a dating app. I wouldn't call that a dating app, mate, if you're sending, pics of your old Richard, the old schmeckle. So, yesterday, blaming the Russians. Oh, it'll be a Russian thing. It's a Russian thing. It's a Russian thing. They're trying to compromise all of our politicians. Had a way. They're compromising themselves. Oh, want to see these? Button mushroom. So yesterday they're blaming the Russians. Today they're blaming Grindr. I mean, can you remember Cynthia Payne? It makes her antics and dancing for vouchers scheme, if you understand what I'm saying. I don't mean like dancing. It wasn't. It was the light fandango. Makes her scheme vouchers for, looks like amateurs. So Willie Rag, Willie by name, is part of the hard right. Pun intended. Hard being the operative, according to the Richard picks. Tory faction known as the Common Sense Group. Genuinely, he's part of the Tory faction that's called the Common Sense Group. You couldn't make this up. It gets more ridiculous by the minute, the hour, the day. He's vice chairman of the 1922 committee. I mean, scriptwriters are laughing so hard at the size of it. I mean, not, what's in the picture, just the whole furore. Scriptwriters are not believing this and I'll guarantee you, it's over the weekend. What happens on a Monday morning? All the stories from Friday, Saturday, Sunday are killed. Won't happen. They won't continue. So Monday morning, it'll disappear. And maybe you think I've been a bit deep this evening, but it seems that pictures of anatomy seem to be the modern currency. And I'm ashamed to say, I sound like my granddad. I mean, we all turn into our mum and dads eventually, but I've literally leapfrogged over my dad into my granddad. And I remember the way my granddad shouted at the TV when Boy George first appeared on Top of the Pops. Can you remember that? He went absolutely, what the hell's that? Like, granddad, it's Boy George. No, mate, I can tell you it's not. I mean, I've said all the way through this live tonight, there's no decency, no integrity. I mean, at my age, it was all kind of risque magazines. We didn't have electronic devices where we could interact with other human beings, as many as we want, whenever we want, wherever we want, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They were just handed round school, if you were lucky, or at work when I was a motor vehicle technician. But sending, they use Bluetooth now, don't they? Sending pictures of you, Richard, to complete strangers on like a train or a bus or a... What's that all about? Have we turned into a nation of exhibitionists or just perverts? Honestly, there was a time when me and you, if we were having our picture taken, we'd either have red eye, not Jap's eye. We'd gurn, we'd pull faces because we're getting pictures taken because everybody's like, oh, is me hair fine? Now everybody's saying, oh, yeah, it's blokes. It's blokes. Well, not necessarily. Not of my particular hue. Maybe it is. Maybe I'm just, maybe I have principles. I don't know. But is that what we're getting to? Is that the modern currency? You have to be so pretty, so beautiful, so buffed that you can send people pictures of yourself. Narcissistic idiots. 2 quick questions. 1, should Angela Rayner resign, in your view? She was quick enough politically to stab Boris because he had a cake and beer. There's no accountability for these people. There's none. That's why the press is still on at her. No matter how small a profit, they're saying, oh, she made about 1,600 quid. And they're talking about Michelle Mone, which I will ask you about in a second. Hundreds of millions. But should Angela Rayner resign, in your view? 1 for yes, 2 for no. 1 for yes, 2 for no. Blimey, principles. You can't get your head around that. Amalia. Interesting. Should Angela Rayner resign? 1 for yes, 2 for no. While you're doing that, and before the final question around Michelle Mone, and I think I know what you're going to say, is the Reform Party imploding? Because there's been some reportage today saying that the sacking candidates, seemingly 63 of them have gone. Now, I don't know whether it's 63 this weekend have gone, or over a matter of time, 63 have gone. That's according to today's press. And they're quoting, the Reform Party said the other day when they sacked 3 of them, we don't hang about. We get in there, we sort it out, and we sack them immediately. Is that going to change things? But these sacked candidates, the party is quoted as saying, comments that breach any basic idea of decency, gone. Stop mucking about, gone. And my final question of this evening, not where's Wally, but Michelle Mone. Do you want her to give all the money back? Do you want Michelle Mone to give all of the money back? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Echo Bunny Woman. I'm not going to repeat them. They were around race and colour, and I'm not going to repeat them. Because the current things that are the All Bovril, Michelle Mone and her husband were fast-tracked through a VIP lane for PPE. And seemingly the story goes that because she's, makes and sells underwear for women, that she would know where to get how to source the PPE. And they reckon she's made at least 29 million in profit from not providing the PPE. There are investigations into Michelle Mone and the company. I mean, she has said, I didn't financially benefit, so it's got nothing to do with me. But the politicians, and you know that something smells when politicians are going after somebody, because politicians do exactly the same. They were all at it, especially the health secretary. But Michelle Mone, saw pictures of her on a yacht today. Oh, blimey. That yacht's some expense. And I just thought to myself, where's Wally? Or which balmy sea is she anchored in? Enemy of the state. Nation Crime Agency has seized all of her assets. Oh, so it's coming. It's coming. So we'll leave it at that. I mean, genuinely, I could go on for another few hours, but I've done 2 and a bit. Thank you for tonight. Most of the stuff I was going to talk about, I didn't get to, because you were wonderfully engaging and interacting this evening, and I really appreciate that, because a lot of the lives that we do, they're not about just me spouting and giving you jigsaw parts. It's also about you and what you feel and what you think. And I do these lives because I want you to get a sense of that there is a community where you can be you and be accepted as you, because there are other like-minded people within this community. And we're not taking the BS that we're being fed. We're not taking the propaganda that's being peddled in the daily rags, because we can see right through them now. I was going to talk about April the 8th. I think what we do is we regroup maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, if we're still here. You know, the aliens might land and that's it. That's me and you, done. I don't think it's going to be that. But, you know, you talk to the Americans, they're very nervy. Very, very nervy about tomorrow. There's going to be a whole swathe of darkness running right across from sort of southwest, near the Mexican border, all the way up to the northeast of America, almost to the Canadian border. Some parts of Britain, UK, will see it. Ireland mostly, but sort of the west of bits of England, Wales and Scotland will see part of the eclipse, but not the whole eclipse. It won't be a full eclipse. But thank you for tonight. As I say, I'm on X, and if you want to join me over there, I can do quick updates on there rather than 2 hours worth of stuff for you to watch on the lives. The next live will be Wednesday at 8 o'clock. But please, if you have an X profile, please come across and sub so you can get more information that I'm going to start putting out. Thank you for your likes, 140 odd of them. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that, because it just alerts YouTube to there's something going on and people quite like it. Thank you for your indulgence this evening. Thank you for tonight's live. Thank you for being so engaged. But most of all, don't forget the Battenberg. See you Wednesday at 8. More videos coming tomorrow. Did I tell you I was going to talk about Alex Belfield? In the morning. See you Wednesday.